Let's not let them unite, but let's give them the money. You think they're going to give us the money?
That's the funny part. The money is dividing us more.
If there's a but, it's not good.
It's not even a but.
If we receive the money and invest it on schools, on healthcares, damaged people, but latest building. Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? This is My Africa Show. As you guys know, the African Union hosts this summit every year. Our country hosts this summit every year. And now the summit has been concluded. So today on My Africa Show, on this episode, me and my colleague Demeke will be discussing, or we'll be trying to highlight what happened in this huge summit that our country hosts every year. So stay with us and we'll be bringing up different topics that will interest you guys, and stay with us until the end of the show. Welcome. Thank you for giving me your time today, Demeke.
Hi, Tsega. Thank you so much for having me.
So today we'll be majorly talking about the Africa Union Summit 2025.
Exactly.
Let's start with the reflection of the world.
So it was a very weird one this year.
I know.
It was very interesting to watch how the world reacted, especially based on what kind of questions that were raised in this AU summit. The ones that they never want to talk about, obviously.
True.
The biggest one was reparation, which I am sure you have a lot to say on regarding that.
We keep it composed as much as possible.
And this was also the year where there was a huge change in leadership in the AU. Most of the leaders came from the eastern part of Africa. And this where the new leaders are focused more on having African solutions to African problems, especially in the peace and security sector.
Yeah.
So regarding how the world received this AU summit, it was weirdly quiet. It's interesting. I always wondered why the AU has, especially in these years, never got the kind of coverage that the European Union gets or the United Nations
As
gets.
if we don't know why.
Yeah, but we've never really talked about it. And I've always wondered why there was not this engagement and why there was not this constant follow-up on who got elected, who won the elections, what did the outgoing chairpersons do, what did they achieve, what are the new ones are going to work for, how did the election process go. There was not much coverage done on it. And I really want to know why.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I keep on asking myself, why are we so focused on saying the same thing over and over again? Like, we all know that we need an African solution for the African. We know what our problem is. We know that the solution is on our hands. But we keep saying that over and over again. And at this point, I think we have adopted saying that a lot. We have adapted it. Because now when we talk about AU and the summit, we cannot ignore the Agenda 2063. And right now, the African Union is working towards that agenda. But really, what are we doing? How is that really aligned with the people that are living here? What are the questions of the people, the African people that are living in this continent? If you look on your phone, if you read articles that summarizes the summit, you will just read reparation over and over and over again, because it's quite surprising to finally hear this kind of idea from this continent.
Exactly true, but it's also interesting to see what kind of narratives that is given for the reparation question.
Really?
Yes, because the world is shifting in a way based on policies from the West and so on. So they're kind of framing it in a way. It's a new way of asking aid.
Oh yeah, I saw something like that.
That's the narrative that they are trying to push. If you noticed, there are more than 20 conflicts going in Africa. All of those don't have coverage other those who are specifically at a place where there is a diplomatic interest from the Western countries or maybe countries that have large resources. Showing the unity of Africa has never been the forefront of the propaganda war that we are in the world.
But like, when you think about it, I saw something that said something that relates the reparation idea with Africa seeking more aid or another way to get aid. I mean, I was like, oh, come on, find a better way. Find a better way to say something, because it's two different ideas. Yes. Reparation is a whole other thing. Aid is a whole other thing from both sides. from the one that gives and accepts.
Exactly.
So I was like, interesting.
So let's go back in history and see. Obviously, we were so excited to talk about reparations.
Please, yes.
We just went into it. So let's just identify. Now we're talking about the reparation question that is raised in the AU. So let's get into it, right?
Yes, but before we do that, you have mentioned that in this summit, different people have been appointed to take power and serve their people and make Africa great again. So let's take a moment and congratulate those people that are appointed, and we'll be back.
We are back, and we want to congratulate to the new chairpersons and commissioners that are elected to the AU.
And for those officials that have served their time, we would love to say farewell, and we hope that you will serve your continent with your journey ahead. So now we are going to talk about
the reparation question.
The bomb.
Yes.
Let me say the bomb. So before we go into that idea, because we only mentioned the word reparation, but here let's cover the whole theme. So the African Union theme for 2025 is Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparation. Perfect. So it's not only for Africans, but also for African descent.
So the diaspora. So
exactly. Africans. Let's start from our reflection. I would love for us to start from that.
Perfect. So let's see in history some reparation examples. So that happened in the history. So Germany paid reparations for survivors of the Holocaust. The other one was America paid reparation for Japanese survivors after World War II. Haiti paid France.
I'm getting it now. You're emphasizing it and I'm getting it.
Reparations after Haiti took back control of their own country in the 18th.
Make it make sense.
For the loss of the French people, of their land and slaves.
I will pay you something because I took something that was first mine.
Yes. That's what happened. I'm not even kidding. Then France requested some amount of 120 million francs at that time.
Okay, wow.
Then it came down to 90 million, but it still crippled Haiti's economy. There's a reason I wanted to start from here.
Okay.
My personal view, or what I think about reparation, especially when it comes to Africa, is yes, I support it. We have lost so much, and not only lost so much, like the example I gave you with Haiti, the thing that we lost then is still affecting us now. Reparation is not about financial liberty.
Yeah.
It's not about countries giving us trillions of dollars for what they took or what they are taking.
Or what they have done.
Or what they have done.
Yeah.
What did they do? Let's talk about the systemic racism that is imposed on the whole continent of Africa. Let's talk about the control over resources that we have, of our own resources.
True.
Let's talk about the export and import tariffs that are imposed on African countries where we try to import our own goods that is taken from here and processed in other Western countries because we cannot build infrastructures and industries here to
I don't think
process
it's not because we can't. I feel like they don't want us to.
Exactly.
Because there are a lot of rich people. There are a lot, because you can see the finance. There are a lot of people that are financially capable of building that kind of industries. And at the same time, there are a lot of genius people that can facilitate those kind of things. So they just don't want us.
That's where the systemic colonialism and racism comes in. So we are still under that effect. That's what we have been trying to say last time on our conversations too. So let's say under reparations, trillions of dollars or any other currency is pushed into Africa. If we don't have control over our resources, if we don't have control over our security and peacekeeping, if we don't have a stable political system, and if we have corrupt governments that allocate this kind of funds to different things, what is the point of having more money?
We have in this continent about 39 countries have some form of conflict with the kind of corruption, even if you bring more trillions, it's not going to transform Africa.
You know, I was thinking about this and I somehow relate with the idea that you brought up because I feel like right now the people are, there is this erosion that is happening culturally. We have a very thin ties that we have with our ancestors, with our history, with our roots. So in that kind of environment, if you invest, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get the outcome that you should get because the people is what matters. It's not the buildings, it's not the infrastructure, it's not the healthcare only because all those things are made for the sake of the people. You understand? So the people are now going through a different psychological change. There's a lot of things happening in the continent of Africa, but at the same time, there's a lot of things happening on Africans. So I feel like reparation is good. It's a very brilliant idea, but I feel like there's a lot of things happening on our plate, that we have a lot of things on our plate that we are having a distracted attention. Here there's Agenda 2063, here's the reparation, and there's the conflict, and then there's
Silence the guns.
Yeah, silencing the guns, which is like there's a lot of things that we're trying to do at the same time that we are gaining low quality outcomes. So why can't we focus on something that is much, how do I put it in words? You feel me?
Yeah, like focus our scope so we can achieve that.
Exactly, and be more like people-centered first.
Exactly, but that's where you see where these agendas are given to us, most agendas. Few agendas we came up to implement on our own. AU is mostly funded by other non-African countries.
True.
Which have their own interests. African countries have been neglectful to contribute both in military forces or financial contributions to the AU, or give the sufficient respect to the AU or orders that come to the AU to implement it in their country. You can see that in the free trade area, on how countries are responding through the free trade area. You can see that in contributions that countries are supposed to make in different sectors. You can see that in letting citizens move freely in the continent in Africa. We don't even have this kind of integration between us.
Not yet.
Not yet. So when we talk about reparation, it should be identified as liberation from the neo-colonialism way. It should be about owning our resources. It should be having a say on our land. It should be about deciding what we do with our ports.
Yes.
It should be about empowerment. We're not asking reparation for emotional trauma. It's not what it is. It's not, we are not saying our grandmother or grandfather or our great-grandfathers have been through this and we still feel the pain. It's not that. It's that what has been done is still affecting us.
So you still feel the pain either ways?
Not emotional, like physically affecting us. It's like the reason, the huge part of not growing is the loss of resource, the loss of knowledge, the loss of manpower, like the intentional political instability that was imposed, the intentional conflicts that were raised, the
that
loss
designed,
of resource. It was designed,
plans,
it was a grand design. So the reparation is not only about money, it's also about what we have lost.
Okay, don't get me wrong, guys, and don't get me wrong. Like I'm not standing against the idea of reparation. And I do believe that it would change the future of Africa in some certain ways. But what I'm saying is we don't even have that kind of collaboration among each other. And yet we're asking for something we feel like we went through. You feel me? So I feel like as Africans, we don't even travel across Africa. We don't know Africans and Africans. They know us more. They know us better, I feel like. So in that circumstance, I feel like there should be some other processes or stage that we should go through as an Africans within ourselves, within the continent, before we go and ask for responsibility, for acknowledgement, for reparation, you know? So without us figuring out where we are at, we cannot go there and say, loss, reparation, this and this, you know? We went through this, so it's just, even if it happens, it might not have that much impact. It can be financial reparation, can be historical acknowledgement, it can be cultural preservation, but we should be able to fix something within ourselves as an African, as an individual first.
I understand your point, and I totally agree with that, but...
But if there's a but, it's not good.
It's not even a but. I don't think they will ever let us unite.
So do you think they would give us, okay, they would be like, okay, well, let's not let them unite, but let's give them the money. Do you think they're going to give us the money?
That's the funny part. The money is dividing us more.
What do you mean by that?
So, for example, in recent US politics, that you've heard mentioned that through US aid or other big institutions usually push their own agenda with the money that they are supporting with. So we can take many African countries, for example. We as Africans have a certain culture or a certain way of life. It's kind of different from the Western way.
Yeah.
You sometimes see those ways being exported with the financial aid that comes with it.
So you think they're going to do that with the reparation?
The reparation will come with conditions.
That's the whole point. Because, for example, it's different when you're giving aid and when you're giving...
reparation.
Exactly.
So reparation...
There should be some kind of circumstance in which that idea is enforced by,
But
you know?
do you think it should be with only money, is my question?
No. It might be returning our artifacts. It might be with even acknowledgement, okay? Because the world is on denial mode because we're still in that era, in neocolonialism era. So if they acknowledge that, it's somehow acknowledging this in some certain ways. Because they know, we all know that colonization is still going on in different ways, in different angles, not only in Africa, but in different parts of the world. So I feel like reparation right now, I feel like there should be other things that we should be also working on. Look at the west part of Africa. Like, look at Senegal, look at Mali, look at Burkina Faso. Look at them. They are creating this wave of consciousness among the people, right?
Working
so now,
on the society.
Exactly. So now they are strengthening their roots. They're building that kind of atmosphere for their people first. If you look at the people that are living here are disconnecting with Africa. So in that circumstance, in that environment, if we receive the money and invest it on schools, on healthcares, damaged people, but latest buildings, you know?
Yes.
Are we going to really repair the things that we lost?
So when we say reparation through money or return of artifact or the acknowledgement of our history or our contribution to the world, what we have is what the world needs to go to the next technological era that the world is going towards. So my belief regarding reparation is it should be managed separately from the infrastructure of aid or money management that the AU does until today.
True, I agree.
Reparation will raise a diplomatic uncertainty between African countries and the Western countries. If we are not very careful on how we communicate the reparations that we are requesting, it will be framed as another strategy of African leaders trying to get money out of the West through guilt.
What we have lost as an Africans, our people, all those lives that we have lost during the slave trade, can never be compensated in terms of money or in terms of anything. For example, if you see some certain histories that you have even brought up, for example, Germany gave reparation, right? Because of that specific time, because during that war, such amount of people died. So because of that, they're giving that reparation. We have not only lost our people, millions and millions of Africans died. Some of them that we don't even know. The numbers might not even be true. It might be even more. On top of that, we've lost our historical equipment, objects. We've lost our identity.
Religion, beliefs, cultures.
Africa is huge. It's not only 1, 2, 3 countries. We're talking about 15 plus countries. So really, like, we have enough. Imagine.
The imaginary borders that was given to us as well. That's what we are saying, Tsega. that's
Why do you call my name like that? That you did.
yeah. Reparation is not about the money. Or our leaders are not asking for money. They are asking for acknowledgement, return of artifact.
Yes, along with the money.
Along with the money. And what, from my understanding, it would be is investment, reparation through investment. Reparation through investment is a balanced way out, in my belief.
How? How can it be a balanced way out?
We need to come to an era where the resources that are taken from Africa are produced in Africa and exported to the world. For example, the electric car industry is pushed by resources taken from Africa.
Okay.
Imagine if we did not just give the resources, if we produced the batteries and exported the batteries.
Exactly. What I'm saying is, we don't need the reparation.
To do that.
No,
exactly. Through reparation comes liberation of controlling your own resources.
They're not even acknowledging that they're in control right now.
So now we are on the same page, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, I guess so.
The end of the day, what I want to say, if this is how we end the show, is before reparation or while the reparation is going, we should ask ourselves, do we have control over our resources? Do we have control over our political arena?
Yeah.
Do we have control our peace and security in continent-wise, not a specific country? And do we have a voice in the world to implement those controls?
Wow, yeah.
If not that, what are we going to do with the reparation? Which country is going to get what? Are we going to divide it equally to all African nations if it's money? Which territory of the artifact does it go back to? Because now there is border between those countries.
Yeah.
So this will bring its own conflict and misunderstanding. So I really want to conclude my side of today's reparation conversation with this message of we really, really need to be careful on what we ask reparations for.
I guess it's just a free space for us to share our idea.
Yes.
So guys, those of you guys that are watching this, make sure that you tell us what you feel about this idea of reparation and those things that we have brought up for our digital audience below this video. And for those of you guys that are watching in different part of the world, you can feel free to share us your idea on our short SMS 6121 as we conclude. What I would love to say is still a lot of things are happening in Africa, and it means that we're still going to be asking reparation in the future too for those things that are happening right now. Yeah. I'm not against it. I'm supporting it, but I just feel like there are other things that we should focus on first as an Africans among each other before we go ahead and ask about reparation and all that stuff. And we have amazing people, brilliant people that can represent us in the world. Yes. And it's just now is the time for us to stand up for what we want and for what we believe. That I would love to say. Thank you so much, Demeke.
Thank you, Adash. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Let's get the conversation going.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.